Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Charles in Charge Cowboys Sports Report, back from the dead. Some of y'all probably thought I was dead. I was half dead after that playoff debacle, but not quite. Back at it now. This is my first actual real video. I cut one in the car a few weeks ago, but this is the actual first real video I'm putting out since that playoff debacle and since some things have been going on during the off season. A lot of people think that we are punting this season and yada yada yada. I'm gonna get into it and get to that fire. If this is your first time watching this episode, guys, I've been a lifelong fan since I was 6. Super Bowl 28 was the first game I ever witnessed since in blood blue and silver. Please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing. It's a free investment, if anything, because once this channel grows to the heights I know it can get to, you will be entertained even more than you are now. I'll have all the bells and whistles, the laptops, the studio equipment, the call-in line for live shows. I will have that, just like Law Nation has, so people can call in and be heard and whatnot. I'm not a reporter. I'm not like Mike Fisher, who's got access to the Star and the whatnot. That he's got his own content. Everybody brings something different to the table. I bring as a student of the game, former player, and I never played in the pros, of course, but and a lifelong fan. That's what this show is about. Basically fan perspective and basically reading the writing on the wall sometimes. And knowing that there's a difference between perception and reality. So please, before I jump into this, man, if y'all not, I'm at my first goal is to get to 500 subs, to 1,000. When they hit 500, then I think I'll springboard to 1,000. When I hit 1,000, I'll really start taking off, and this show will be pretty cool. I mean, it'll have more than just this backdrop and myself. In other words, so please, I implore you, subscribe. You will not be disappointed. If you don't like my content in the future, then unsubscribe. But please hit that red subscribe button, guys. On the count of 3, let's do it in unison. 1, 2, 3, boom. Subscribe. If you did it, you're a real one. I love you for it. That like button, like Mike Fisher says, help beats the algorithms. Basically, get your video viewed more. Like, my video will pop up in feeds where people haven't seen it before, So on the count of 3, let's hit that like button together, guys. 1, 2, 3, like, boom. If you did it, you're a real one, and I love you for it. Now, let's get into this off season here where everybody thinks that we're punting and that we are out on Mr. Prescott and that we are going to go into this season as a lesser team than we were the previous season. And, we lived with the Jimmy Johnson curse last year, and after we did that, everything seemed to fall into place. Philly imploded. We were able to sneak into the 2nd seed after winning 16 in a row at the crib, averaging 40 points a game at the crib during the 23 season, only to have Green Bay and Jordan Love come in and beat us in the fashion that they did. Nobody saw that coming. That's the worst playoff defeat I have ever witnessed. I mean, 2009, we got beat 34-3 at Minnesota. That was in the 2nd round, and that was a, Brett Favre man team with a hell of a defense. That was a Super Bowl team. Them where the Saints could have went to the Super Bowl and beat the Colts that year. Worst playoff loss I've ever seen. Now, everybody believes that we're punting this season. That, this is a lame duck, da-da-da. Let's go back 2 years. After the 2021 season, right? We go 12-5. We host San Fran in the wild card game. We lose 23-17. And during the off season, we see Greg the Legs Zerline go. Our starting tight end, Blake Jarwin, who was, our main tight end at the time. He walks in free agency. Can Dalton Schultz handle the pressure, da-da-da. Right tackle, Lyle Collins, who everybody swore up and down was better than Terrence Steele. Steele wasn't ready. Steele wasn't that good. Steele was looked at kind of like T.J. Bass is being looked at right now. We looked Lyle Collins. We cut him, actually, outright. Just, boom, you gone, bro. Amari Cooper, our receiver number 1. Lamb was number 2. Amari was our undoubted number one wide receiver. We trade him to Cleveland first thing for a 6th-round pick. We don't even try to get to a day 1 or day 2 pick. We give Cleveland Amari Cooper for a 6th-round pick. I understand the move, but I would have held out a little bit longer, for as well as we draft for at least a 2nd rounder, but it is what it is. And also, right before the season started, Tyron Smith's hamstring came off the bone. We all thought he was done for good. So he missed the majority of the year. He came back the last 3 or 4 games to play right tackle when Steele went down. So we had a rookie at left tackle. The last 12 years or whatnot, in the first round, we usually draft in the 20s. The exception to that was the 2011 draft. I guess 2010, we went 6 and 10, something like that. And the 2016 draft, because 2015, Romo broke his collarbone twice. We win 4 games that season. Had the number 4 with the overall pick, something like that. Other than that, usually picking in the 20s in the first round. Not a problem, though, because you can list on more than 2 hands how many ballers we've gotten in the first round. Now, to start this offseason, we lose Tyron Smith to the Jets. Ty Smith to the Jets. Damn. He was 2nd-team All-Pro last year, right? I mean, really had a resurgent year coming off these injuries. Played 13 games, I believe. Solid stuff. Tony Pollard goes to Tennessee. 3-year deal, $24 million. Not all guaranteed, but so TP's gone. Dan Quinn goes to the Commanders. He takes our 2 defensive ends, Armstrong and Fowler, with him over there. Leighton Vander Esch retires, neck problems. We cut Michael Gallup. I mean, he had 2 seasons after he signed that contract, and he did not live up to it. That will, help. That'll basically pay for the draft class. And Jonathan Hankins is no more a Cowboy. Who do we acquire? We acquired Eric Kendricks, a middle linebacker, who will be better than LVE and or Devon Clark or last season. Even though he's not prime Eric Kendricks, still going to be better. And he is a Mike Zimmer guy. We're in talks about getting Zeke back. I am not opposed to it. Now, Elliott will not be the workhorse back. Elliott will be the complimentary power back. The hammer, so to speak. Pollard had what? He averaged 5.2 yards a carry in 2022, 1,007 yards. Because Elliott, who finished with 3.8 yards that year per carry, but the first 13 games in the season, Elliott was averaging 4.4 yards a carry. And then Terrence Steele goes down and Tyron Smith replaces him. And you would think, Tyron Smith makes this like Martin, oh my gosh, the right side would be amazing, but it really fell off the last quarter of the season. But the complimentary of Elliott being the banger to soften up that defense was keeping Pollard fresh. And then Pollard hit that lightning, hit the Jets, and then boom, was able to average 5.2 yards a carry. Without Zeke last year, Pollard finished with 1,005 yards, but only 4 yards a carry, 1.2 yards less. That's big time. Zeke finished with like 960-something yards and 22. Just shy of 1,000. Rico only rushed for like around 400 yards last year. We retained Rico Dowdle, but Zeke, if we get him for dirt cheap, even though we're still paying $6 million of dead money to him this season, we get him 1 year vet minimum deal. Do it. Hell yeah, do it. Him, Rico, and then you get a running back in like the 2nd or 3rd round, a rookie. And you never know, man. The way that we pick, that rookie could be something. You get that scat back, that fast back. Elliott will be his complement. And Elliott still has the nose for the end zone. We had trouble in the red zone last season. Yeah, I mean, we'd be at the 5 yard line and couldn't get it in. Elliott can still get it in from the 5 yard line. Yes, he's 2 yards in the cloud of dust a lot of the times, but that's his role. That's what he does. He's not the guy that breaks a 7 yard run every game, even though he did have a 7 yard run last season with the Patriots. Got called back with penalty, but I'm not against bringing back Elliott. No, as a role player, as the power back, because I mean he's about the best power back you're gonna find. He'd be better than 40 ounce. I mean Rico, looked pretty good last season, but he's a better power back than Rico. But the point I'm trying to make is the off season after 2021 and 2022, we lose all these guys. I mean Cooper, Collins. Tyron Smith goes down for basically the season, just about. Blake Jarwin, Greg Zuerlein, and a few other guys. And all we did was bring on James Washington, wide receiver from Pittsburgh, Dante Fowler, and safety J-Ron Curse we brought on from Detroit. J-Ron Curse, you know who the hell is J-Ron Curse. Turned out to be an impact player for us that season. And the following season, last year, kind of a disappointing season. But in our draft class, we took Tyler Smith in the first round. He's going to be at left guard. Then Ty Smith goes down, so he kicks out to left tackle right before week 1 and holds down left tackle all season. Second round, Sam Williams. Third round, Jalen Tolbert. Fourth round, Fergie. Fifth round, Clark. And the fifth round, we had Deron Bland. Bland was an impact player that year. Tyler Smith was an impact player that year. Sam Williams was a good role player that year. And Damone Clark played pretty good when he came back from injury during that season. It's 4 players that we had that were impact players from that draft. The draft of last season with Mozzie Smith and Shoemaker and all those, and we kind of fumbled that draft. Now, those guys were rookies. They weren't instant impact rookies like we're used to. See, we're spoiled when it comes to draft picks. We're used to at least having 3 minimum draft picks be instant impact players. We didn't have any last year. Not that was drafted, anyways. DeMarvion Overshawn was the one to be excited about. He tore his ACL right before the season started. So having him coming off that torn ACL, tore it in camp, gives him a full year to rehab that thing. And being as young as he is, he should be all right. Him and Eric Kendricks and Damone Clark as our linebackers should be good. At edge, we lose Fowler and Armstrong. But we still have a slew of guys. We still got Tank Lawrence, who is still, pound for pound, one of the best defensive ends in the league. Just all around defensive ends. Sam Williams, still developing. Micah is who Micah is. Hopefully he keeps growing into his man body and stops tailing off toward the end of the season. But every year, he's got 13 and a half, 14. Double-digit sack guy. Opens things up for everybody else. If some of these rookies from last year, mainly Mozzie, really. Mozzie Smith, big time. If Mozzie can, make a big jump from year 1 to year 2, that'd be great. Who else? Schoonmaker, not too worried about him because Jake Ferguson, I'm telling y'all, this kid is going to be the next great tight end that we've had. You go back to Jackie Slater, you go back to Jay Novacek, and then you got Jason Witten. I think Jake Ferguson will have a very rich career. I'm not going to say Hall of Fame, anything like that. It's way too early. But from year 1 to year 2, he was the man last season. Dalton Schultz is gone. As a rookie, he did really good last season. He became tight end number 1, and he was a playmaker. Now, we have not given Dak his extension yet. He's on the last year of his deal. So is Lamb. Lamb will get signed. I believe he is a top 5 receiver in the NFL easily. Led the league in receptions last year. It's close to being a triple hat winner. Micah is technically signed through the 2025 season. It's not as bad as it looks. And right now, the guys that are still out there, you see, I mean, you got tier 1 of free agency, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5. A lot of people jump on tier 1 and, overpay for, certain players. Half the time it don't work out. Sometimes it does. We got Eric Kendricks in like the second wave. He's going to quarterback the defense. He is going to quarterback the defense. Now, top free agents left out there still right now. You got safety Justice Simmons, who was a baller from Denver. You got safety Kyle Duggar, who was a very solid safety from New England. Odell Beckham is out there as receiver. And, offensive tackle Andreas Pete from the Saints still out there. Bud Dupree, edge rusher, still out there. Offensive tackle Chris Hubbard still out there. Offensive guard Laken Tomlinson still out there. Now, these linemen that I'm mentioning are very serviceable linemen. They could start and not be a turnstile. Edge rusher Kyle Van Noy out there. Safety Marcus May. Cornerback Steve Nelson. Defensive tackle Calais Campbell. That man is timeless, ageless. Very disruptive in the middle still. I would love to get Calais. I wanted to get him last season. Oh, my goodness. He's like jumping from team to team. And he went, I forgot where the hell he went last season, but it was to a team that was not going anywhere, which surprised me because I know he wants a ring before he retires. He's in his late 30s, but he is still wrecking up that middle. So we're not going to sign anybody else until after the draft. That's usually whenever we bring in the signees that help complete the puzzle for the season. So Calais Campbell still out there, Gilmore still out there, and wide receiver Hunter Renfrow. Those are the best free agents that are still out there. And after the draft, these guys are not going to be top dollar. Our defense should be fine. If Trayvon Diggs, still a young guy, can come back and be as good as he was before the tear. Every player is different. Michael Gallup hasn't been the same 2 seasons. Breece Hall last year looked pretty damn good coming off the tear, being a running back. A running back that position is the hardest position to come back from tearing the ACL because you're the freaking running back. I mean, you're cutting every play that knee. That leg's very important. But right now, we got Diggs and Bland as our projected outside corners. We re-signed Jordan Lewis to a 1-year deal. Jordan Lewis is a solid slot veteran cornerback. I'm glad we re-signed him. I mean, last season he was for depth. And then Diggs went down. Thank God we had Jordan Lewis because Bland was able to bounce outside and Jay Lou inside. Gilmore had 2 picks, 13 pass deflection, pass breakups last year. At 33 years old, had a very good season. Of all free agents, for defense, he would be key to re-sign Gilmore. Even though we got Jordan Lewis, I understand that, and I don't think Gilmore seems to be that type of a greedy type of guy. Going for the biggest contract. I think he would like to give it another go with the guys that he played with last season. He liked everybody on that side of the ball, and he still has game. And one of the offensive linemen, maybe, but T.J. Bass, I believe, will probably be our starter at left guard this season. T.J. Bass, right, number 66 last year. We saw him play a little bit. Not a lot, but when he did play, he played pretty damn well. We saw Terrence Steele play in 2020 as a UDFA because the whole offensive line was injured that season, the year that Dak broke his leg. In 2020, Terrence Steele was thrown in the fire at right tackle, and did not look good most of the season. I mean, thrown in the fire literally. T.J. Bass has got playing time, real live snaps. Started a game against Arizona, and has been able to sit back and learn from future Hall of Famers, like Zach Martin. Seeing young studs like Tyler Smith. And if TJ Bass is that Terrence Steele type of guy, which we think he is, I would personally, left tackle is very important. I would personally like Tyler to go back to left tackle. TJ Bass, left guard. And round one, this is what I would, seem to be the best idea. Round one, get that center. Get that center that's not going to be pushed into the, quarterback on every other play. I mean, Connor Williams, Connor McGovern, and Tyler Biadasz. Actually, McGovern and Williams were left guard. Biadasz he's a serviceable center. He was an alternate Pro Bowler in the 22 season, but he just didn't have that strength, and he didn't have that muscle to move a defensive tackle. In round one, if a Powers Jackson is available or a top tier center, you take that guy at pick 24. You take him at pick 24. Then you got Tyler Smith, TJ Bass, that first rounder, whoever it may be. Hopefully, I like that kid, Jackson Powers Johnson. I think that's his name. Y'all know what I'm talking about. He's got the hyphenated name, Powers Johnson. Old number 70, Zach Martin, and Terrence Steele. Terrence Steele should be back to his old form now. This is his second year off that injury. Terrence Steele should be back to that aggressive, guy that, we're used to. And him and Zach Martin could really, be a force on that right side like they were the season before he had the injury. So that's our starting offensive line going into the season. I'm okay with that. We also have La'el Collins. Coming out of college when he was undrafted because he got in trouble. That was a steal, that we were able to get him. He would have been a top 10 pick. He was a left guard in college. He played left guard for us in 2017. Doug Free retires, so he goes a right tackle. In 2019, has an all-pro season at right tackle. And gets his head big and comes into camp 2020 out of shape. Has a hip injury after the season. 2021, Terrence Steele just is better than him. Plays the first 6 games because of Collins' suspension. And we move on. Cincinnati picks him up. He plays very well at Cincinnati. He finally seems like he has matured. Cincinnati let him go last offseason before the season because of the injury that he had. Very bad injury. Catastrophic type injury, but he is completely healthy to play now. Could La'el Collins play left guard? Or could La'el Collins play left tackle? Which he has said on numerous occasions he can play left tackle. So having him in the building, him amongst the rotation, if La'el Collins can play left tackle and post up there and be good, be as good as Tyler Smith was in 2022. Be as good as Tyler Smith was in 2022. Not as good as Tyrone was last year, but as good as Tyler was in 2022. If La'el can be that, and Tyler can stay at left guard, and then you draft that center in the first round, then I think the offensive line is even better. And then you got depth with TJ Bass in the interior. And then Asim Richards going into a second year, hopefully is good enough to spell the left tackle for a game or two if he were to get injured. In the second round, you pick a running back. Second or third round running back. That's got to be high on the list, I think. We got the receivers. Lamb is who he is. We still got Brandon Cooks. The guy ain't no punk still. Still got speed. Him and Dak have a year under their belt together. They should be better this season. Ferguson should be better this season in his third year. Jalen Tolbert is coming along. He is developing. Our receiving room should be just fine. Our tight end room should be just fine. The legend of Peyton Hendershot Schoonmaker going into his second year, and Ferguson just being Ferguson. Just a monster out there. If in the third round we're able to get a good running back to complement Elliott and Dowdle, running back by committee is how it is nowadays. There's very few CMCs out there, or, Barkleys or Henrys. Then our offense should be just fine. It's not going to be the way everybody's talking about. We lost Tyron Smith. You lost Tony Pollard. You lost Tyler Biotish. Oh my God, what are y'all going to do? Y'all cut Michael Gallup. 4 starters from last year gone. The season's over, man. Might as well throw in the towel. Y'all really believe that? First of all, Tyler Biotish was not a blue chip guy that you lost. Michael Gallup, probably better off without him, to be honest with you. I mean, in 2022, T.Y. Hilton, when we signed him for, 5 weeks, seemed to outplay Michael Gallup at 33 years old. So losing Gallup really doesn't concern me. I think Tolbert will step up. Kevontae Turpin is getting better at wide receiver. This is going to be his third year in the NFL now. He's starting to learn his role. He's starting to learn how to run routes. He's never going to be a Tyreek Hill, no, but he could be a dangerous little Cole Beasley type guy, but with 3 times the speed. Guy is still a burner. So say running back in the third round. Say, there's a good one in the third round. Second round, you invest in the defensive line, the interior of the defensive line. So I'd go round 1. This is just way, 3.5 weeks beforehand. Round 1, center. Just because we've got a guy that can play left tackle at a high level. Round 1, center. Round 2, defensive tackle. So it'd be 2 straight years of getting a defensive tackle high. First round, second round. Third round, running back. And then after that, BPA. We don't have a 4th rounder. That's Trey Lance. 5th round, we pick 174. That's a comp pick. And 6th round, we pick at 216. That's a comp pick. And then 7th round, we got pick 233 and 244. So our first 3 picks are pick 24, pick 56, pick 87. So we get 3 picks in the first 87 picks of the draft. If Will McClay hits a home run on this draft, then that will fill holes. And if in the 5th and 6th round, if he's able to do what he does and find gems like the Deron Blands, of this team, or even some UDFAs after the draft, if he's able to do that. I mean, we got Ferguson in the 4th round of the 22 draft. We don't have a 4th round pick this season, but in day 3, we've got some good starters that we've gotten, in the 4th, 5th, 6th round. So we shall, see how the draft pans out. Then after the draft is whenever we might sign a couple of older free agents to fill in some gaps. Gilmore, I would love for him to come back. And then if by chance we bring on a Andreas Pete or a Chris Hubbard, or a Laken Tomlinson, that'd be great. But if we have Lyle Collins, who is dirt cheap, which is really good for us, we like cheap guys, he's still talented. If he's 100% good off that shredded knee that he shredded in 2022, then that's another plus for the O-line. And they might sign Dak during the season, extend him during the season. But maybe they're not signing him yet because they want to, see what he does, put his back up against a wall, and have him deliver. Because everybody played bad against Green Bay. Everybody. But Prescott he didn't help matters either. And that pick six to Savage really kind of opened it up, big time. But as far as the division, I would not be surprised if after 20 years that there's finally a repeat division winner. I know Philadelphia got Saquon from, they signed Saquon Barkley from the Giants, 3-year, $36 million deal. They had DeAndre Swift last season. And he's a damn good running back. Swift played the entire year, which he is not accustomed to doing. He has injury-prone career. Saquon Barkley also has an injury-prone career. So there's no guarantee that he's going to stay healthy either. It's a great pickup by the Eagles. But, they're losing Jason Kelsey, who was the captain and leader of that offensive line. Lane Johnson is a year older. Hassan Reddick, they had to trade to the Jets for a third-round pick. Get a little pricey there. Hassan Reddick is by far their best pass rusher off the edge. Still got Josh Sweat. You still got Nolan from last year in the first round. But I don't think the Giants could be much of a threat. Yes, they got Brian Burns to team up with Kayvon Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence on the D-line. But they still got no corners. Their safeties are still average. Linebackers are average. Offense, they have no running back now. Still have no receivers. The Giants are not going to be a threat. Dan Quinn is going to take over Washington. They traded Sam Howell. So I'm assuming they're going to draft a quarterback. There's probably going to be 6 quarterbacks drafted before we even pick in the first round. So 23 picks go before us in the first round. Say 6 are quarterbacks. That leaves 17 other picks. And, people are going to be going all positions. So I think when pick 24 comes to us, the guy that we want or we need will be there. And it's offensive line. It's got to be offensive line. It all starts up front. And hopefully Mike Zimmer can pick up where Quinn left off, but do even better and help changing the culture of this defense with Eric Hendricks being the quarterback and the voice and leadership. And, Micah Parsons, is really, really great player, but he's not that leader, the outspoken type, Ray Lewis type guy, you know what I mean? That rah-rah guy, get you pumped up and going, get you ready for that playoff game. In that playoff game against Green Bay, Micah Parsons statistically had his worst game of his career. He was a no-show. We all love 11 from heaven. From weeks 1 to weeks 13, he is, pretty freaking good. I mean, amazing sometimes. Some plays you see the replay and you're like, how did he do that? But then, the last 4 or 5 games of the season, he kind of fades away. Slowly steps back and, to the fog, and you don't see him no more. And in the postseason, he really doesn't show up. His first 3, he's been in the playoffs every year of his career. Been in 4 playoff games. Look at his stat line in each playoff game. And it's not like, his stat line is, low because he's been, opening it up for other guys. No, he just hasn't been playing well at all. But hopefully it's because he's still growing. Hopefully he gets a little bit bigger for this season. A little bit bigger, a little bit more weight on him, so he doesn't wear down. He's supposed to have gained 10 pounds of muscle this last offseason. It didn't really show, We need him to be able to be fresh 100% all the way through week 18 into the postseason and still be that guy that we saw in September. But basically, message I'm trying to get across is we are by far not punting on this season. there's a certain recipe on how we do things, and we kind of know how it goes now. The reason why Jerry Jones doesn't do anything crazy. This is what I've come up with. Jerry's really old, right? He's in his 80s. He has talked about his mortality. He doesn't know how much longer he has. So Jerry would rather be really competitive every season. And when you're really competitive every season, any year could be your year. Especially, I mean, you get 3 straight years of 12-win seasons. It's not bad. Any other team in the NFL would love that, you know. But being that we're the Cowboys, you know, expectation of Super Bowl has been for the last 28 seasons. The reason why Jerry Jones doesn't throw caution to the wind and go out and do like what the Rams did or whatnot is because he's afraid that if he hits and misses and we have to kind of rebuild, that he won't be around long enough to enjoy the team that we have after the rebuild. I think he feels he's too old to go through a rebuild. Jerry Jones himself. That is what I think. And that's why he is, you know, that's why they play their cards so close to the chest and don't take super big risks or sign big time free agents. How long has it been since we signed a superstar free agent? Superstar free. I'm talking number 1 tier blue chip top guy free agent. I'll give y'all 30 seconds to think of the last. I'm not talking about big contract. You know, I'm talking about superstar. What's the last big superstar free agent that we signed? Actually, I'll just give you 10. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi, 9 Mississippi, 10 Mississippi. Okay. Last offseason, we traded for 2 guys that were, you know, good. Past their prime, though. Gilly and Cooks. So, no, that's not it. Brandon Carr in 2012, we gave the bag to bring over from, where did Brandon Carr come from? Wherever he came from. I remember that cornerback from Kansas City that we brought over. Hunter, this is back in the 2000s, 2005 or 6, something like that. Can't think of his name, but Terrell Owens was the last big-time superstar free agent that we brought in. T.O. back in 2006. Bill Parcells didn't like it. Jerry didn't care. He had been kicked off the Eagles team, and he was out there, and Jerry said, I'm going to get him, and he got him. I didn't realize that T.O. was 33 years old when we signed him in 06. Because he didn't play like it. See, I mean, he played like he was 23. And then in 07, when he was 34, I mean, he was just unstoppable. If it wasn't for Randy Moss having that record-breaking season with the Patriots, you know, he'd have been the lead leaguer in everything receiving. 15 touchdowns, just balling out. And then 2008 starts to wind down a little bit, as you can see, and we part ways with him. But that's the last time that we signed a big-time superstar free agent. Brandon Carr was, you know, a big-time signing. He wasn't that good, though. That cornerback from Kansas City is aggravating the crap out of me. That I cannot remember that guy's name. I remember everybody's name. He played for us in 06 and 07, I believe. I know he did. He played opposite Terrence Newman. Drives me nuts, is what it is. But yeah, so there's still a lot of time in this off season. We're gonna see what happens. And if we're able to obtain a Calais Campbell and a Stephon Gilmore, you know, that would be amazing. That really would. Or if we somehow part ways with Jaron Curse or Wilson or somebody and we bring in a Kyle Duggar, you know, I think he'd be an upgrade. But For the interior of this defensive line, Dan Quinn has had a good defense the last 3 years. Not a good interior, though, not being able to stop the run. We lose Hankins. Mozzie, still a developmental piece. I think Calais Campbell would be perfect bridge guy, man. I mean, that guy is so disruptive in the middle. Oh, I'd love to get him. Or if we draft somebody in the second round and he turns out to be a steal, you never know. And I want Gilmore back. I like that cat. I mean, him wearing 21, he is good, man. Against Seattle, when Deron Bland was getting cooked by DK, like I keep going back to that game. Al Harris, who is still our defensive backs coach now / assistant head coach, went to Gilmore at halftime and was like, look, young guy getting burnt, DK's eating his lunch. I need you to shadow him. Metcalf didn't have another catch in the game after Gilmore went to shadow DK. Gilmore can still do it, being that Diggs is coming off an ACL tear. If we have Gilmore out there to play outside, then Diggs can take his time coming back, start to trust that knee, and then by week 7, week 8, be back to the Trayvon Diggs that we know. We don't want to have to rush him back. And I think I believe Gilmore will take a team-friendly discount. And being that this is, Dak doesn't have a contract, beyond this season, you know what I mean? And he finished second in MVP votes, that Prescott will have a chip on his shoulder. I want him to have a fucking bag of chips on his shoulder so he can come out in 2024 and, get over that hump. Last thing I'm going to touch on. Last thing I'm going to touch on here. In that 2022 offseason, by the way, where everybody said we were punting, when we let go of Collins, traded Cooper, lost Jarwin, Tyron Smith was out for the year just about. We went 12-5 that year, won the first playoff game, and lost a tight game, 6-point game against San Francisco at San Francisco. You know what I mean? Because we didn't have no Brandon Cooks and no good second receiver to complement Lamb. That was a, competitive season. So I think this year will be also. But the last thing I was going to hit on is, damn it, my wife looked in on me, got my mind thrown off. The last thing I was going to hit on about this season, I'm not, like I said, and this is what James Jones said on Speak For Yourself, I'm not at all comparing the two quarterbacks as far as skill-wise. But if you look at Peyton Manning's first 8 seasons, look at his playoff career. Right now, Dak is 2-5 in the playoffs? In Peyton Manning's first 8 seasons, Peyton had 3 playoff wins. 3. Dak only has 2, right? And Peyton's 9th season is when he got over the hump. Got over the hump. Was in his 9th season. Prescott is going into his 9th year. And this team we're going to put a good team out there. Not comparing the two quarterbacks at all, but sometimes it happens later in your career. And in 2006, a lot of people didn't see Indianapolis doing that because the year prior to that, in 2005, they went 15-1 with the number 1 seed overall and were one and done by Pittsburgh at home, 21-20. And it was just like Peyton can't do it, In 2003, he goes to New England, gets bounced. In 2004, when he breaks all the passing records at that time, goes to New England, loses 3-20, can't even put up a touchdown. And then the following year, they're 15-1, they're unstoppable, and they lose at home against Pittsburgh. The book on Peyton Manning was he couldn't get it done in the playoffs. That was his MO after season 8. I mean, people labeled him as great regular season, bad postseason, just like that. And then in season number 9, he was able to get over the hump. And it was not just him, it was a complete team effort. Each one of those playoff games played out differently. Go back to 2006 season and look at the 4 playoff games they played. The Colts were a wild card team that year. In the divisional round, they played the Ravens, and they won that game 15-6. All field goals. And then the AFC Championship game, Peyton Manning wasn't able to rely on that defense and had to engineer an amazing comeback to beat the Patriots, who had their number at that time, as does San Fran has our number right now. And I guess you could say the Packers might as well have it too. But this season is not a punt at all. And, yeah, Philly's going to be good. I'm not sure how good Philly's going to be, actually. Kellen Moore is the new OC. Saquon is their new running back. We'll see how healthy he can stay. He's getting a little bit older now. History of injury. The Commanders under Dan Quinn. Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler to replace Chase Young and Montez Sweat. Not even close. But Dan Quinn is a very good defensive mind. We know that. He knows Dak pretty well. I don't think he'll be able to shut Dak down. I think we're going to sweep the Giants and Washington this season with no problem. And it'll be really interesting to see what Philadelphia looks like after their crash of last year. San Francisco basically still remains the powerhouse of this conference. You know, they still remain. They're not really losing anybody. Nobody's retiring. You know, their top lineman, Trent Williams, still there. Mike Kelsey retiring for Philly. It's not happening for San Fran. Trent Williams is still there. George Kittle. Brandon Ayuk still getting better. Ayuk, I forgot what's up with him. Is he going to be with San Fran this year? I'm not sure, but we'll see. Other than that, it's been 46 minutes. I try not to keep y'all that long. If you watch me till the end, guys, y'all are a real one, and I love you for it. Please subscribe and press the like button. Share this content if you can. I got to go, guys. Keep God first and foremost. He comes before everything, even this. Seek Him and His righteousness, and everything else in your life will fall into place. I'm living testimony of that right now. I'm going through a storm of multiple proportions, but I'm keeping my calm and keeping my faith in the Lord Jesus Christ Himself. If you have any questions about that, do not hesitate to ask me. It's one of my missions in life. One of my jobs in life is to spread the word. But yes, Cowboy Nation, we shall see what happens this month, see how the draft plays out, and see what we do after the draft as far as who else is out there to be signed. Because, I mean, we can create cap room. We have like $5 million in space right now. We can restructure a Zach Martin deal. There's a whole bunch of shit we can do to create cap space if we need to. And we know that. So, that's it for right now, guys. That's it for right now. You know, maybe not signing Dak yet is, you know, maybe you know, it's challenging him, you know. Cowboys probably have the intention of signing him long term. but maybe, you know, Dak seems to play best when his back's against the wall. So, you know, maybe it's a tactic. We'll see. But I don't see Prescott, unless Trey Lance really, you know, starts to emerge in the preseason and practice, you know. You know, franchise quarterback's not easy to come by. And, you know, to me, the best quarterback of all time is Peyton Manning. Took him 9 years to get to that first Super Bowl. So, all right, guys, that's it for tonight. Y'all enjoy April 2nd, tomorrow, Tuesday. A lot of people go back to work. You have a good, safe day. Thank y'all for watching my content. I'll be putting a lot more out there, especially as the draft starts to approach even closer and closer. I'm back in and out, guys. Start to expect my videos. Charles in Charge hiatus is over. I'm back in it, and yes, all's well that ends well. All right, guys, y'all have a good one. I'll catch y'all on the flip side. Charles in Charge is out. Deuce.